Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hi.
Kim and Jay here, just coming up with our usual Wednesday night talk, and we really hope that most of you are listening because as we've discussed our story with everybody, we've had a time with and without God. We started without God in our relationship, as you all know, and then many of you came in and we started talking about God. We brought God into our lives. We started going to church. But as we thought we were really developing a really close relationship with God, we both discovered through the process of what we went through that maybe we weren't as close as we thought we were. And we want to talk about that so that help you understand how God actually works with you, how God gets into your heart, how God helps you to see the things that you need to see to become the person that not only He wants you to be, but to also be the person that you want to be in your heart that just seems like such a struggle on this planet. So Kimberly's going to start to talk about what she was going through and how she surrendered for the first time.
Yeah, so like we told you, and if you guys saw our story, in our story it's 30 minutes. It basically tells you basic timeline of how we met, our background. And we started going to church after we had our daughter, Rachel.
17 years ago.
Yeah, 2001. And we were going to this church, and this is like my first experience with a church. So to me, it was more about works oriented. If you're doing everything right, then you're going to be saved. It was never about a relationship. So I'd have to say that, we were living this life, and it was very, we were very wealthy to
Very blessed.
We were so blessed, and I didn't even know it. That's what's so sad. But I was walking in the world, and I was very materialistic, and I really didn't have God in my heart. It was all about me still, very selfish oriented. I'm going to be happy when, kind of like, I'll be happy when I get this. I'll be happy when I get that.
If that, then I'm happy.
Yeah, and it was always this, I will be happy when. Well, God says we need to be happy now. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. And, this took a long time for me to get there. But during this time, probably when the kids were really little, I was really going through some struggle. I was very unhappy. I started to work out, like I said, and then all of a sudden I was getting noticed more. So then I was kind of like, and then I had, like I said, I had kind of fallen for this one trainer guy, and I think that was where it all started. And then I had even said to God, not really having a relationship, but I had said to him, I'm so unhappy right now. I don't care if we lose everything. I'm done. Like, I was just done with everything.
With what?
Life, with being married and everything at that moment.
Yeah.
So then I was walking the wrong path. We started losing everything. And I just remember the moment that I surrendered, I literally was on my knees bawling to God, going, I don't want to be this person.
What were you doing?
I was cheating, and I don't want to be this person.
Yeah, but where was your heart? What was your mind like?
Well, my heart was like, I didn't want to be this person.
Okay, sorry.
I surrendered. I was just completely surrendered. Like, there was no more that I could give. And I just gave it all to God. I was just bawling, going, I don't want to go on anymore. I don't know what to do. You need to help me. You need to change me. So that's, I think, when it started, the surrender. But, again, you have to have a relationship with the Lord. And that took a long time for me to figure that out. And it took a long time for me to grow out of this, out of my sin and out of the things that I was doing wrong and having my mind transformed.
So when you surrendered, it wasn't like all of a sudden your whole life changed. You all of a sudden became this perfect Christian walking in the world, handling all your sin, and you were done because you gave it to God.
No, because I didn't have a relationship with them still.
Right.
I was still like working on things, and it just wasn't like, I just still didn't understand. I was ready to repent, and I repented, and I was just on my knees like, God, you've got to change me. I don't want to do these things. And then finally he did, kind of change me slowly. But we went through a lot of turmoil.
Right, and this was so. Let's talk about when you surrendered versus the timeline of things that happened after you'd even surrendered, because people
got worse.
Right, yeah. So a lot of people think that when you surrender, that everything changes, and all of a sudden you're the perfect person walking this life. Kimberly, what happened for the next 2 years after you surrendered? What was going on with you?
Right, we lost everything.
What else?
We
What were you
moved
doing?
to Colorado.
And what were you doing?
And I didn't want to live, and I didn't want to be married anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so
so
it was
you started
worse.
going out with your friends.
It was worse. It got worse.
Right. So surrendering, you didn't change then.
No. And I didn't change probably until we moved back here. And when I made that decision out in the desert, when I was yelling at God and I didn't know if I was going to stay or not. And I told you, remember, that I wanted a divorce. You take the kids, you're the strong one. And then finally God just spoke to me and said, Jay's a good man. What are you doing? And I knew it was out there in the world and it was crazy. And I was like, Jay's a good man and he loves me and he's fighting for me. So I went back, and that's when we got a lot of counseling and
so this was what, a year?
Pastor.
A year after you surrendered? A year and a half
2.
after you surrendered?
It was
Almost
about
2 full
2
years
years.
after you'd surrendered.
Yeah.
That you actually finally really surrendered.
Really surrendered. And then
Right.
the relationship with the Lord started. Journaling, praying, spending time. To get close to God, you have to be in relationship. To get close to anybody, any kind of intimate relationship, you have to spend time.
Right.
Spend time together. So, but it's
spend time with God, you mean,
yeah,
when
but
you say together.
But yeah, yes, with God. It's a process. It's baby steps. It's not all going to come at once, right? Everybody thinks it's calling.
And that's some of the things that I had posted a little bit about what I was going through as Kimberly was going through what she was going through. If you want to read about it, it was really quick. It's about a 2-minute read. And we were what I was talking about was, so as Kimberly was going through this stuff, I know that what's going on. I don't know exactly what's going on, but God was telling me she's out doing the wrong thing, and I knew she was out doing the wrong things. I didn't know with who. I wasn't going to follow her. I wasn't going to be this crazy guy, although I could have been. That wasn't where God guided me. But he just was talking to me, and I got on my knees, and I'm just praying for her, Lord, please don't let this happen. Don't let this happen. What am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? I've got the kids, and this was when she had surrendered. This was going on then, and I just kept praying for her. But what was really weird for me when I was praying one night, I just said, Lord, she's cheating on me. What do I do? By the rights of the Bible actually says that if the person commits adultery, you have the right to leave. But Jesus said that only because of the hardness of your hearts was it allowed when the Pharisees went to him and asked him, what about getting a divorce? And he said, no, you're not supposed to. Jesus said you're not supposed to. So I'm fighting this battle in my heart with this whole thing. And then I said, Lord, what do I do? And he goes, you need to change. And I'm going, I'm sorry. She's the one who's doing the wrong things and I have to change? He said, yeah. I'm the spiritual leader of the family. If my family is not right, now please understand, it's different for everybody. But if I'm not doing the right things and if my family's not right, I have to look at myself first saying, am I leading my family the way my family needs to be led? Am I doing the things that I need to be doing to keep my family on the right path? And if she's doing things that she shouldn't be doing, yeah, there's a good part there. There's nothing I can do about that. But I wasn't doing the things that I feel I could have been doing to make a difference for her so that she could come back.
Right.
And that's where I said, okay, God, I'm listening. And I go, so what do I do? And he said, well, you just started. You came to me.
That's
you started
like a
talking to me.
surrender, yeah.
That was my surrender. And it was just like hard because I have to look at me because of what she's doing. And guys, this isn't all on you. Many of you might very well be doing all the right things and having problems in your marriage. And I can tell you, though, that for the most part, if you're not taking a good hard look at yourself first, you're not looking in the right direction. Because as the leaders, if we're not taking the paths that we need to take, this isn't going to work. And it took me a couple of years to continually realize what I have to do differently, how I have to treat her, how I have to talk to her. And as I've told you in the past, recently, that we still have these stupid arguments where I'm saying things and talking to her in a disrespectful way and not a great way. But back then, I didn't even know what it looked like to not be doing the right things with her because I'm the Christian, I'm the man, I was a Christian before her, I know what I'm doing and I know God and she doesn't. And that wasn't the path that God wanted me to go on, and I didn't even know that. So,
well, and I remember one time he was watching a video and he saw how he was acting towards me.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we all have these issues. We all have arrogance. We all have these traits that we don't want. We all need to have the traits of Jesus. And the only way to is to bring him into your life and into your heart so that he can change you. Now, you can't change yourself. He has to change you. You could sit here and try and try and try. So we always tell married couples, you guys are both like at end of the spectrum, let's just say, right here and here.
Yeah, you ever talk to your wife and not understand what she's talking about?
Right.
There you go.
So if you're both, you're always blaming the other one. Oh, my husband is this, my husband is that, my husband is this. And then, oh, my wife is this, my wife is this, blah, 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 blah. You need to look inside, okay? And
look at yourselves.
Well,
Don't
you
look at
first
each
need
other.
to look up, okay, to God. And then God... You're looking inside yourself. God, help me. I'm surrendering. So then all of a sudden you're both looking up and then you're growing towards Christ, towards God. And then, ta-da, guess what?
We all meet at the top.
We all meet at the top. Oneness with God, oneness in our marriage. So it's so hard when I see couples struggle and they always are like, my husband this, my husband that. I understand. We're all messed up. We all have our stuff. But you've got to start having an attitude of gratitude and looking within yourself. What can I do different to help my marriage? And it's funny because when you start looking to God and yourself, all of a sudden your spouse starts looking at you going, wow, things are changing for the better. Things are getting good.
It was funny. After Kimberly and I had gone through all this, one day we're driving down the freeway, and it was after she had fully surrendered and she was out in the desert. She yelled, and this is 3 months later, and she looks at me and she goes, sorry, this is hard for me. She looks at me, she goes, why are you fighting so hard for this family? And I go, it's my job. I'm the spiritual leader. That's my job. I'm supposed to make this happen. Now that doesn't mean on my own.
He loves me.
Not by myself.
Not just because of that.
God opened my heart to love you more in the way you need to be loved.
Right.
So that was it, and that was the answer. And that's how I was living from the time that God said, "You're the leader. You need to step up." And almost 3 years later, it's finally come around. And now here we are, several years later, talking about this, so that hopefully others can see the path that is difficult, that we have to walk is difficult, especially when we've walked so far away from each other and we don't know what to do. And that surrender is so key in how we open up to each other, but mostly you just need to open up to God. And if you'll read the little post that I did, I'm walking through 9 steps, and they're just short little snippets of what do you do? Read the Bible, do this, do that, get your family involved as the spiritual leader. But ladies, for those of you who have husbands who aren't walking the right path, but you are really seeing what you need to do, unfortunately that kind of puts the spiritual leadership on you, and sometimes that makes it harder for you, and I get that. And that's what we all need, though. You have to step up at that moment, because when our spouses are failing, you step up. When your spouse is doing good, sometimes they need to step up to help you when you're not walking that right path, when you're making those choices.
They say for a good marriage you both have to give 150%. Because literally when the other person isn't at their 100%, then you're giving a little more and a little more.
But you're giving 100%. So there's always 100% in the relationship, regardless of who's giving it. One's giving less, one's giving more.
But it's true though. You both have to want it. You both have to fight for it. I mean, literally in my heart too, the whole time that I was walking away, why did I just not walk, right? Why didn't I just get a divorce and leave? Because I come from a broken family, and I said I would never do that. I said I would never break my family. And I was so messed up that I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know. I was just, the devil took me down such a, whew, man, I tell you, that stuff, that sin takes you in, it sucks you in, and then all of a sudden you're looking back going, man, where am I at?
How did I get here?
How did I get here?
Right.
So it's so true. But, just hang in there, guys, and just trust in God, and He will direct your paths, and He will strengthen your marriage.
And when you surrender, again, the main key to this conversation is about, don't expect all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're a new person.
Yeah, it took me 2-3 years.
There are some people who walk away from their life of drugs just overnight, and the next day they're done with drugs.
That's great.
That's great, but that's rare. How many stories do you hear that way? Most of them don't go that way. It takes work. It takes time. And your marriages are important. And the devil knows they're important. And that's why he's battling with you. And that's why he's fighting you. And that's why he's trying to trick you and tease you and get in your face and make everything different than what you think it is. Because guess what? There's only one thing that's right. And there's only one thing that's good. And that's your relationship with Jesus and your relationship with your spouse. Nothing else matters. God said when a man marries a woman, you become one.
Right.
And you can't separate that. And when you start living it that way, it starts to become something that works that way.
Right.
But you have to accept that and move into that.
Right. So anyway, thanks for listening. Share, like, comment, because we're trying to get it out there so we can help other marriages too. So thank you for watching. We love you guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.